Right, so I have finished the next book in Mistborn Era 2. This is Shadows of Self, and Brandon Sanderson has made some pretty dark, pretty emotionally investing books in the past, and it may be weird that I'm starting off a book that's about that thin, starting off a ramble session about a book that's so thin with that kind of intro. But without getting into spoilers, I think Wax is a character that may have gone through in... Wax may be a character that has kind of had his ideology rocked the most out of any character that Sanderson has written that I've been exposed to anyway. Because Vin is, broken when she's found, but that's very much a coming of age story. This, where you kind of have the bulk of the book and the bulk of the first book is very much this kind of it's sold as this high octane gunslinging action fare, and that is what the bulk of the book is. But the emotion that it gets into, specifically through the end of the book, the end of this one especially, and what Wax goes through, is honestly heartbreaking. It's like, wow. If I was in Wax's position, if I was going through what this man was going through, I don't know if there would be a book 3 and 4. I don't know how this guy is going to be able to get out of bed. And I've as of recording this, I've read part of the epilogue I've read most of the epilogue of Mistborn era of Bands of Mourning. So I don't know how Wax is going to be able to get out of bed and carry on as if the events of this book never happened, or the events of, finding out how his ideology has been rocked so much. I don't know how he's going to be able to do that. And I'm going to try and keep this video as spoiler-free as possible. Again, this is the second book in a series, so I'm not sure how many spoilers I'm going to be able to keep out of this, but I'm going to try my best, although I have kind of spoiled, at least at the ending, leaves Wax in a place where I don't know how he's going to be able to go forward. I don't know how you dig yourself out of a hole that this kind of revelation, or this kind of thing that happens to Wax at the end of this book. I don't know how you get out of that. I don't know how you get out of that. But maybe that's just me, and maybe that's because I'm young, dumb, and naive, and I don't have very much world experience. Maybe that's why I kind of was reading the end of this and was thinking, that's that's Wax done, right? I mean, that's we're gonna have a different protagonist for the rest of the series, aren't we? How do we carry on from that? Where do we go from here? where do we go from here? Is the question that I have. So essentially, what is this book about? Where the first book was very much like, so these Mistborn Era 2 books are much more quicker paced, obviously, from the size of them. But they also are just paced like an action film. To the point of where we're basically just raring to go, and the whole of this book is a manhunt for this Kandra that's kind of able to shapeshift, and she's like basically like hidden in plain sight. Anyone could be this Kandra. They could be. You can't really trust anybody, and this Kandra's goal is basically sow chaos, essentially, and there's stuff linked in with Harmony and his control of the Kandra, and this one individual wanting to break that control by sowing so much chaos in the city. I really like this kind of more flashy, more action movie paced book. If you were watching this, and you know any other books that are kind of like paced like this action movie kind of pacing, definitely let me know in the comments below, because I really like the pacing of these books. I liked the way that Mistborn was paced, Mistborn Era 1, and I like the way that the Stormlight Archive is paced for what they are, but I feel like this kind of gets into a sweet spot of the kind of media that I enjoy anyway, and I just really like it. Wax is or Wayne was a character in the first book that I did find annoying. Whenever we were spending time with Wayne, I was like, let's just get back to whatever Wax is doing. In this, we do get more character stuff with him. We are starting to get to understand why he is the way that he is, and it's really doing a good job of taking character that I didn't really care about initially to a character that I won't say I am fully invested in that character now, but I feel like Wax is the character. Wax is the kind of the Sazed kind of. Wax is kind of your Vin to Wayne, who is kind of your Elend. And I'm not saying that they're going to end up together by the end of the series, although if Sanderson wants to do that, so be it. I just don't see these characters being, I don't see these characters getting into their 40s and being like, oh, turns out, Wax has been this kind of womanizer throughout his whole life, and suddenly he's a homosexual. I don't see that being what this ends up being. But in terms of Wax being the character that you're kind of on board with from the start, Wax is even kind of Wax is kind of Kelsier in a way, where you're just kind of on board with that character from the start. Wayne is very much more Ellen Venture, where when he pops up, you're just kind of like, oh, look, this guy again. And then the more that he kind of shows up and the more that you get to understand that character, you're like, Wax is like Spook. In a way where when you start seeing him in Mistborn 1, in Mistborn, he's an annoying little shit. And he's just there and he's like, wasing of the where and the who of the what. And it's just like, what? Just move on from this child. And then the more you kind of peel the layers of that character, and the more you kind of learn, especially, like, I have a feeling by the time we get to the Lost Metal, Wayne is probably going to be a character that I would jump into traffic for. Probably. But we're not there yet. What I am interested in is this kind of idea of the set, and this idea of this kind of like almost Court of Owlsian. If you're big into your Batman comics, you'll know what the Court of Owls is. This kind of like force that's kind of pulling the strings of the city, and kind of involved in everything that's led by Wax's uncle. That kind of gets taken to the background. There are interesting things to do with Wax's uncle and what kind of role he plays in the wider quadrilogy, where that character's going to go, and they do have something to do with the book. They're not completely like forgotten about, but I kind of expected the series to kind of be front and center, be about trying to take them down or trying to deal with them, because that's the story, isn't it? That's the way that it goes. The first book is, or the first entry into like a hero's journey, essentially, is like you've got to face your friend, and then you've got to face your father, and then you've got to face whatever the actual evil machinations are, essentially. So Ellen's uncle is kind of like the face your father kind of trope. But I'm getting the feeling like Wax's uncle is the big bad of this, because this is to in the lightest spoilery way possible, this is the face your friend one. I thought the last book was the face your friend. This is more that, and it is more heartbreaking than you would think that would be. Anyways, and getting to the end of this book, I was like, this might make me do a little Denzel tear. This might make me do that. It didn't, but it got very close to that, and yeah, just kudos to Sanderson for being able to draw out that emotion in me, even now. I know the formula, I get it, and it still feels as good as it did reading Mistborn. It still is like, in fact, it's even better, because it's even better with something this kind of quick and breezy, pun definitely intended, with something this quick, where you get to that big climax all the quicker, and I feel like if you were of mind to do it, you could get through this in a day. If you had the whole day free, you could get through this in a day pretty easily. I did not have a day free, so this took me about a couple weeks, which is about on par for me. That's how long it took me to get through like the earlier Witcher books. So yeah, that's, I think, normal for me. But yeah, you could definitely get through this in at least a weekend if you were a quicker reader than if you had the time for it. It's definitely got the investment in there to do that, and it definitely reads easily. It doesn't read like I said, it reads like an action movie. But yeah, that's really all I have to say about Shadows of Self. It's definitely the best of Mistborn Era 2 for me so far. Can I say now that I like Mistborn Era 2 more than Mistborn Era 1? I don't know. I would say about on par at the moment. Mistborn Era 1, I think, meanders a lot in the second book. And the way that I think of it now, I have to get through Bands of Mourning and The Lost Metal before I actually 100% say, and I probably will do a Era 1 versus Era 2 video, but I feel like the middle of Mistborn Era 1, so specifically The Well of Ascension, it's the biggest book of the trilogy, and I think it's the least deserving of its page count, in my opinion. I do think that book could have trimmed some stuff out of it, in my opinion. I'm not good enough. I'm not creative enough, and I'm not a writer, so I'm not going to try and say where or how that could be trimmed. But I'm just going to say that is the book that I think has the most stuff in it, where I'm like, this doesn't need to be as bloated as it is. That was the book that I felt was a bit bloated, in my opinion. You know. But as I'm feeling with this, there is not enough time, there is not enough page count, there is not enough word count to feel bloated. It is just like, it just keeps going and going and going and going. And, you know, that's why I'm saying this pace is just hitting that kind of, it's hitting that sweet spot. It's like, you know, it's like comfort food, you know, it's like, I don't want to say it's like fast food because it's way more filling than that. Yeah, comfort food. It's like, you know, it's satisfying, it's sweet, salty, spicy, it's all of that kind of stuff rolled into one. It's everything you want and you need. But yeah, I feel like that's what this is. Mistborn Era 1 and even going into like Stormlight Archive, that's your fine dining meal. Stormlight Archive is fine dining. Depends on who you ask, but yeah, for me, Stormlight Archive is fine dining. This is definitely like, this is like a chicken jalfrezi. You know, it's all of the flavor, but just like, you know, this is a Monster Energy drink. This is a Monster Energy drink in book form. It's like, you can down it really easily. And it might make you want to cry at the end. Oh dear. But yeah, let me know in the comments below what you think of Mistborn Era 2. Don't necessarily say what you think of it compared to Mistborn Era 1 yet. I will be doing a video on Era 1 versus Era 2 when I'm done with Era 2. But yeah, let me know what you think of Shadows of Self on its own. And also, yeah, just do that. Just do that. And also the recommendations for books that are paced like action movies. That's That's your other homework. What is your favourite book that is paced like an action movie? That's your homework. That's your homework for today's video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Hopefully you enjoyed. Peace. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Ever since we hit 1,100, I've been trying to get to 1,111. That seems to be the stumbling block. Now we keep getting to 1,109, and then we start going back. So I want to be able to breach the 1,111 goal. That's my next goal. And we'll do like a big stream to celebrate that. I'll see you guys in the next one. Hopefully you enjoyed. Peace.